Okay guys, so welcome to class. We're going to start by doing the warm-up, so you have this on your desk. I have to be in a meeting today, so I can't be in class, but we have two problems on our warm-up. We have the first one, and then we have the second one here, okay? So, what I want you to do is think about this. What's your slope? Okay, you can write this on your paper if you need to. What's your intercept? What's your M and what's your B? Okay? So write down your slope and your intercept for each one, because they're already in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so you're going to do that, and then you're going to graph the line. Here, it's a line, right, because of the equal sign. And here, it's not a line because of the inequality sign. Okay, so this is an inequality, and this is just a regular equal sign. So those are two things you got to notice, okay? They're the same, 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1, so it's not a difficult one, no negative numbers. Y is already alone, there's no number in front of y, there's nothing on the left side, so you're ready. Oops. You're ready to just graph this thing, okay? So just keep that in mind and go ahead and do it, okay? So I'm going to get these out of your way so they're not confusing you. And then try that, and then we will resume once you guys have taken maybe, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 minutes to graph those. Okay? So just pause here and then resume, and then there'll be a couple seconds and we'll pick it back up. Okay, so you should have been graphing those lines. Okay, one's an equal and one's an inequality. So let's write what the M and the B for each of these is, okay? The M, we have to know this by now. We're getting to that point in the year where you gotta be able to graph these things. Graphs are never gonna go away this whole year. So what's the M? Which number? The number before the X, right? The number that's with the X when Y is alone. So the M here is 2. And this is the slope, okay? So just remember that that's your slope. Okay? And if you want, you can put it over 1 because it's a fraction, usually. Your B is the number that's added or subtracted at the end, and that's a 1. So we know that these are the same, right? Look at them. They're the same. So we're just going to put a 2 here for our M. We know it's 2. We can put it over 1 if we want to. And our slope here is 1. Okay? So this is, remember, the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, and because this is y, right, this is y here, it's going to cross the y-axis at 1, right there. And this one's also going to cross the y-axis at 1, right there, okay? Slope is 2 over 1, that's rise over run, rise, 2, run, 1. Rise 2, run 1, and if you want, you can rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. You can do it a couple times if you want to make sure you have a line. Okay, so each time you're rising 2, run 1, rising 2, run 1, rising 2, run 1. Now you have your line. So this is pretty much done. All we're going to do now is just draw the line. Okay, draw the line through there, and that's it. So this is what we're familiar with. This number 1 is something that we should know how to do automatically. Okay? Now all we're doing is changing one thing, which is this symbol right here, which is how we draw that line and what we do with it. So we should be able to graph this now because there's a line underneath this, okay? Remember, if it's this, whoops, if it looks like this, greater than or equal to, or this, less than or equal to, then it's solid line. Okay. Everybody good with that? And then if it looks like this, greater than, or this, oops, less than, dotted line. Okay, dotted line. This is the only rule that you're memorizing so far. Okay, so far. There's 2 rules that you're going to memorize for this little unit that we're doing these couple days. And all you have to know is solid or dotted, The line underneath means solid, no line means dotted. Should be no questions there. Okay, so this is a solid line. So we're going to draw a solid line. Rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. Okay, and we already know that it's going to look like this, okay? And it's just like the other one that we have up here. Look at the graphs, they're the same. But the question is, if this is opening towards the y, it's a greater than sign, okay? You need to know that. You need to know that this means greater, okay, and this means less, okay? That's read as a greater, okay? If it's opening that way, it's read as a greater, and this one's read as a less. That's because if you were to, like, let's say you were to do this, okay? The alligator's eating the 3, right? But if you read it, you say 3 is what then 2? You say greater. So as you read it, it automatically has to be greater when it's opening this way. But if you did this, you would say 1 is less than 7, less than, it eats the bigger number. Makes sense, okay? So that's what that's for. Okay, so we know it's greater, so the only other thing we need to know about that is that if it's greater, we shade above, because these are the greater things. Okay, so we shade everything that's above. Oops, I don't know how that happened. Let's try to get rid of that. Okay, there we go. So if it's greater, we know that we shade above. So let's do that. Sorry for the delay there. You might want to shade lightly or whatever. We know it's going to look kind of like this. Okay. So these are all our answers. And a good way to know if we're right or wrong, okay, this line would extend, right? A good way to know if you're right or wrong is to take a number, a point in here, and see if it works. So we're good at taking points and seeing if they work, because we've done a whole lot of that. So let's just pick some point in here. Let's say we pick negative 5, 2. Negative 5, 2. Okay. So does negative 5, 2 work? Because it's colored in, so it should work. Alright, well, this is our x, this is our x, this is our y. So we'd have 2 is greater than negative, 2 times negative 5, which is the x, plus 1. Okay, this is something that you guys are really good at now, as far as I'm concerned. I've seen great progress here. So 2 is greater than or equal to negative 9. That's true. Okay, so because this is correct, that's good that that's shaded. Let's do something else. Let's go ahead and look at this and pick a number that's not shaded. And if it's not shaded, then it should or shouldn't work. What do you think? If it's not shaded, it should not work. Not shaded, not working. So that point right there that I picked is the center. What's that point called? 0, 0. It's the easiest one to put in usually. So we have y is greater than or equal to, let's fix that symbol so we don't have any confusion. Y is greater than or equal to 2x plus 1. That's what we're checking. We're checking this equation just in case you didn't know. Okay, and here's our x, and here's our y, alphabetical order, x and then y. So let's put them in. We put in our x is 0, okay, is greater than or equal to 2. We put in our y, oh, sorry, when I said x here, that was y, okay. Now we're putting in our x, which is 0. So when I said this, we said put in our y, and then we add 1, okay, I'm trying to do red for that. So there's our x and our y. Okay, so 0 is greater than, okay, according to this, 0 is greater than 2 times 0, which is, oops, sorry about that, forgot my arithmetic. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1. So this is saying that 0 is greater than 1. Is that true? Is 0 greater than 1? Absolutely not. Not true. And this point is not shaded. So not true, not shaded, that's a good thing. So it makes it seem like our answer makes sense. Okay, that's how we check our answer. So that's the warm-up. Today's objective is to graph inequalities that are already in slope-intercept form. So just do a whole bunch of these things. Okay? Alright, we'll take a little break. Or actually, I'll just move on in a second, okay? Alright, so let's go over a couple of the rules of how we do this, okay? So let's just go from scratch here. You're going to have all this in front of you. But it's good to kind of see where I'm getting this info from. So graphing inequalities, okay? And I'm going to shorten it with just inec, right, like that. Graphing inequalities notes, okay? So here's the deal, okay? Graph as normal. As normal equation, okay, with y equals mx plus b, right? Where this right here, the m, let's use a different color there, where this right here, the m, stands for your slope, where this right here, the b, stands for your y-intercept, where it intersects the y-axis, and you gotta have y alone, right? Must have y alone. So what's our, basically kind of our Bible here? This thing right here, always. Okay? That's the information that's vital. Okay? So we're graphing it like this, but it's going to look a little bit different. It's going to have a different symbol here, okay? So let's highlight that. Let's take a look. This symbol right here is going to be the only thing that's different right now. Nothing else is changing. So let's just look at an example. Okay? Let's look at an example. We'd have y is greater than or equal to, maybe. Oh, actually, we did that in the last one, so let's do something else. Let's do less than. Let's say 3x. And let's say there's nothing after that, okay? Alright, well, we need to know our m, and we need to know our b, because it just makes it easier to write that out. So I think right here we know our m, right? You should know your m is 3. And your b is not there. So if it's not there, then it would be like adding nothing, right? Plus 0, so b is nothing. It's not there. So all this means right now is that we're crossing at 0. We're rising 3, we're running 1, right? Because it's over 1, right? And we are going to make a line there. Now here is when the rules come in. Okay, so let's add some rules here. Okay. So we'll go back to that graph. Don't worry, we didn't lose it for good. This is where we need our rules. Okay. If it's like this, or like this, okay, then it's a dotted line. Okay, we just talked about it, but we're going over it again. Now, so that's what you need to know. So if it's like this or it's like this, then it's a dotted line. If it is like this or like this, that means right here there's a line underneath it. So line underneath it means line, okay? So line underneath it means it's a solid line. Okay? So those are your first two rules. You're going to want to do that first, okay? You're going to want to do that first. And then when we get to our second set of rules, basically, it's looking at where we want to shade. So when we have it like this, when it's pointing towards the y, right? Which would mean, let's give you an example. Y is less than something, right? 2x plus 1 is what we were doing. Or y is less than or equal to 2x plus 5. Doesn't matter what I put here, it's just saying that it's pointing towards the y. It's saying that the y is less than, right? So that we gotta say less than. So when you see these two symbols right here, pointing towards the y, less than means shade below. And when you see these two symbols here, which are going to be, what do you think? By process of elimination, greater than or equal to. And that means, whoops, it should be blue. And that means you shade above, because everything greater than that would be above it, right? So shade above. So that means it's trying to eat the y, right? It's greater than. So this is your example, y is greater than or equal to, and we just make up numbers, so we can say negative 3x minus 10, doesn't really matter. This means that we want to shade above because it's greater than. You got to be able to read that way. Okay, so greater than. Greater than. So greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. There's all your rules, okay? So now let's get these rules kind of out of the way so we can work on this problem. So now, hopefully you have those rules in front of you, since I'm printing these out for you. We got to decide, we got to make a decision. Are we going to dot this or solid it? We're going to dot it or dash it, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. So our dashed line is going like this. Okay, it's going to intersect here, it's going to intersect here. Okay, so there's our dashed line, or dotted line, doesn't matter. Okay, and now we know that because there's no line underneath it. No line means it's not a real line, it's dashed. Because we're not including everything on it, we're just including everything that's above or below, right? And now pointing towards the y, looking at your rules, says that we need to shade below. So we shade below, which is all this stuff here. Okay. It's kind of hard when the line's really vertical, but think about that, okay? This line right here is kind of separating below or above. Think about it like maybe the sky and the hill. So this would be the mountain, this would be the sky, right? And if I had a line like this, right? This would be the mountain, this would be the sky. If I had a line like this would be the mountain, right? This would be the sky. So the sky is above, mountains below. That's just a little trick if you want to use it. So there's your one example. These are the types of equations we got to do. Follow your rules and you should be fine. Okay? That's all we got. So good luck with that, and I will see you guys, I believe, tomorrow.